It's Monday, August 26th. Welcome to MarketFoolery. I'm Matt Greer, and I am joined by Motley Fool analysts Emily Flippen and Ron Gross. Welcome. How are we feeling?
Hey, Mac.
Pretty
Dog
good.
days of summer here.
Dog days of
Finishing
summer.
it up.
I've had a nice little break, so I'm tan.
I haven't seen you in months.
As
What a
tan as
little
I get.
break.
I know. It's true. It's been a very generous break. Thank you,
You
Motley
look good.
Fool.
You look well rested.
Thank you. Well, I feel well rested, and we got lots to talk about. We've got some new health concerns with vaping. And I have a lot of questions about this vaping. I'm not sure it's a good idea. So we're going to talk about that. No. I think it's the devil's playground. Okay. And also, we're going to talk about Target getting some Disney magic. Target and Disney teaming up here. So we'll get to all that. But let's begin with Tesla. Now, according to reports, Tesla will raise prices in China on Friday. That's earlier than planned. And Tesla, according to the same reports, also considering raising prices again in December should the Chinese tariffs kick in. So, Emily, you're one of our resident experts on China. And now we're seeing some of the ripple effects potentially of all this trade war stuff. Tesla, we should add, currently imports all of its cars it sells in China.
That's an important note right there. The fact that Tesla, as it stands right now, is selling every car in China that they produce here in the United States. So the 25% tariff on automobiles that China is putting into place or considering putting into place with the U.S. would hit Tesla very hard. That's in addition to a 5% tariff on auto parts as well. So it's kind of a minefield for Tesla right now. They're trying to meet what they see as expanding demand in China while still navigating the tariffs. For the business as a whole, the most important thing is the fact that, they've been working on the Shanghai Gigafactory. So a factory there in Shanghai, China, that would produce cars that they could then sell in China for a while now. But they've kind of been going through their own minefield and getting that up and running. So the fact is that simply they're not going to have it up and running this year. And they're probably going to start trying to front run deliveries to China in advance of the December tariff hikes.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if this was a Tesla story or a trade war story or a little bit of both. But I think it's an actual real world example of how trade wars and tariffs can actually impact companies. In this case, U.S. companies. Everyone should sit up straight and listen and see how this can impact it. It's not like Tesla was knocking the cover off the ball. So this is another little thing that they're going to another thing that they're going to have to deal with, and it is the consequence of trade wars. President Trump said they're easy to win, and maybe one day we'll say they are, but as of now, it doesn't appear to be the case.
And when we look at Tesla's business as a whole, Emily, how important is China? If I'm investing in Tesla or if I'm considering investing in Tesla, how much should this concern me?
Last time I looked, China actually accounted for about 1/5 of Tesla's sales. So this is actually pretty concerning. It's a little surprising the stock hasn't moved much today, actually, on this news. But that might be in large part because tariffs, as we found, and trade wars in general tend to change rapidly. So we don't actually know what the situation will be like in December. I think we all see how quickly, administrations and politicians tend to go back and forth on things like trade wars. But what's important is the fact that companies have to prepare in the environment in which they know right now. So, Tesla, which has had a problem for a while and getting deliveries out of their factory, not a demand problem, as they say, but a delivery problem. Whether or not they can really actually deliver these cars in advance of a tariff hike that they see coming in December is the big unknown here.
I think we should add, as at least walking into the studio, I noticed that Tesla hasn't confirmed that this is actually the case. As of now, it's just a report, a little bit more than a rumor, I think, but just a report. And we'll see if Tesla comes out with a comment later.
It's August, Ron. I mean, we need something here. Okay, let's move on to vaping. Illinois officials confirming that one person has died after being hospitalized with a severe lung illness after using e-cigarettes. Now, this is the first death reported from a vaping-related lung illness. Emily, there is so much that we don't know about vaping and about the long-term effects. So I want to be careful here. But we do know that it's been marketed as a safer alternative to traditional cigarettes. So what do you make of the vaping news And as our cannabis expert, what do you make of the potential link or the implications for the cannabis industry?
I'll take cannabis expert as my title now. Actually, it's important to note the difference between smoking and vaping. A lot of people may not be familiar. So smoking, obviously burning, whether that be like tobacco for the nicotine effects, and that's been for a long time now proven to cause lung cancer. So vaping came up as a healthier alternative to smoking. It uses water vapor to get you your addictive chemicals, whether that be cannabis or nicotine. And so it was perceived to be a healthier alternative because that water vapor itself was not linked to the tar in cigarettes that caused cancer. So these new reports coming out that maybe vaping isn't as healthy as it initially seemed is not good for the industry. In large part, it's just that we don't have a lot of history to work on here with vaping. We don't have people that have been vaping for 20 or 30 years to prove those side effects. So it's almost like we have a generation of mini guinea pigs who have been the first generation to consume vapes in any large quantity. So I expect that we'll see more reports like this. It is worth noting that the report is not nearly as bad as immediately causes lung cancer, but is to say that there are likely health effects to vaping and using vapes as opposed to smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, at the risk of stating the obvious, I just think we have to make sure we keep this out of the hands of kids, because kids kind of did learn the lesson about cigarettes, I feel. And now, boom, just when we all thought we were out of the water with that generation smoking cigarettes, they're vaping more than ever. So if it's the fruit flavors or the bubblegum flavors or it's the marketing to children, I think I'd be firmly in favor of stricter regulation when it comes to children. I mean, even Nicorette, I believe, for example, is a prescription is necessary. So why can't vaping nicotine also be prescription, perhaps? I don't know if the industry will ever go that far, but let's just try our best to keep it out of the hands of kids. And
it's so interesting you say that, because the FDA has actually been targeting regulations focused at keeping it out of the hands of kids. So the largest vape producer here in the United States, Juul, has flavored pods that the FDA has recently said are too attractive to children. So they've limited a lot of places that Juul can sell their flavored pod products.
And I believe San Francisco's outlawed the sale of vaping products completely. You can actually use them, I believe, in San Francisco, but you can't purchase them. So maybe we'll see more of that.
In our final story, we're going to lighten it up a bit here. Go to the Magic Kingdom, a little Disney and a little Target. Disney and Target joining forces. 25 Disney stores will open at certain Target locations across the U.S. on October 4th, with 40 more Disney stores expected to open within Targets by October of 2020. And Target is set to open a store near the Walt Disney World Resort in 2021. Ron?
That part of the story doesn't make any sense.
I love this, Ron.
The beginning is good.
Is this a great partnership or a really, really great partnership? Because this, to me, seems like a no-brainer.
I really like it for Target. Target's toy department, now I'm going back a few years because my kids are older now, was never impressive. It was not an enjoyable experience. I think this makes really good sense. Obviously, they'll be selling products that everyone is really looking forward to. They'll coordinate the launch with the Frozen 2 and the Star Wars release that's coming up. So I really like this. Interestingly, the last several quarters, if not several years, has really been about competing in the online space against folks like Amazon and really, becoming this multi-channel company. So, for example, recently, last week, Target had a really blockbuster quarter where digital sales were up 34%. Online is more than half of its total same-store sales at this point. So things are looking really good under the leadership of Brian Cornell. But the stores are doing pretty well, too. Store traffic was up 2.4% in the end of last quarter, in the last quarter. And so I think something like this, a move like this, will even help further bring people into the actual stores. So it won't just be an online story. Perhaps it will be an actual brick and mortar story as well.
And Ron, you were talking about the performance, and we were talking before the show about the 5-year charts, because that's what we like to do. We talk about 5-year stock charts because we're fun guys, right?
Yeah, that's fun, all right.
And Target, over the last 5 years, up 72%. Disney up around 46%. So Target has been crushing it. I mean, Disney not too shabby, but Target really getting it done.
One thing that I thought was really interesting from this story, it's a stat, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher this name, Bob Chapek, So sorry, Bob, but he's a chairman of Disney
Yeah,
Parks.
Bob's listening.
But
Apologize to the whole Chapek family.
Mr. Chapek, he said that there's a 90% overlap between Target and Disney customers. Now, I have no idea where Mr. Chapek got those numbers or what that means. But if it's true that there is a 90% overlap between those two customers, then hey, maybe that means really great things for not just Target, but Disney as well.
I think that's low. I think there's like 100% overlap.
Every single person.
Yeah.
You know, the Disney stores hasn't really been a pretty picture. Those stores have not really executed very well. Most people don't realize Children's Place actually owned them and operated them.
Is that true?
From like 2004 to 2008 until Disney took them back because the subsidiary of Children's Place that was operating them filed for Chapter 11. So the stores have never been really a gangbuster part of this story here for Disney. So this is actually probably a nice little move to kick that into gear.
And as we wrap up here, do you have a favorite and least favorite Disney character? Or let's look at it through the prism of an investor. How about the most undervalued Disney character and the most overvalued? And I can start. I think Mickey Mouse overvalued.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going strong to the hoop there.
He's an icon, you know.
Yeah, and Minnie does not have as big of a role. That's why I'm going Mickey. I think the valuation is way too heady, so I'm selling Mickey.
Wow. Goofy?
I get Goofy and Pluto mixed up. Which one owns the other one? Goofy owns Pluto, or Pluto owns Goofy?
I didn't think it was an ownership structure.
There's a pet. One is a pet for the other.
Goofy, I would say, is the owner of those
then
two.
Goofy is my underrated.
Those characters we're actually talking about are so old school, though. It's like,
Yeah, I was just
when
thinking
people think
that.
of Disney, you know,
Top it.
princesses were big for a while, obviously.
Who do you got? Overvalued.
Wait, those two sisters. With the ice.
The Frozen.
Ella.
Oh.
Yes, no, undervalued though.
Okay,
There's
good.
that new aren't they making a second movie?
Yes.
There we
No,
go.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Undervalued. And do you have overvalued?
Oh, you couldn't have me name any more Disney characters.
Donald
than
Duck?
that. Okay, there you go. Donald
Or
Duck.
Never understood.
I unfortunately
You
think
put a
I think
monocle
I've
on a
aged
guy,
out.
and he's all of a sudden a new character.
Okay, Ron, what do you got to come to the hoop here.
Listen, my kids, especially my daughter, adored the princesses, especially Jasmine. So Jasmine was huge in my house, and she will always have a warm spot in my heart. So I think she's actually undervalued for all the great times she's provided my family. Overvalued. Anything having to do with
Chippendale.
Oh, I forgot that those are Disney.
I don't think they're Disney. They're like squirrels or rats. I'm not sure what they were. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think some of the old school ones that we just mentioned are kind of they've had their day.
Steamboat Willie.
Again, that's Mickey, isn't it? You put Mickey, just let him whistle and he becomes a different character.
It's August, people. It's a free show. Okay, so for our Desert Island question here, we've got Tesla, we've got Target, we've got Disney. We're going to lay off the vaping because I don't even want to start
No good
with it.
vaping investments you can think of, Mac?
I could think of, do you want to throw in a cannabis basket there?
Oh, well, there's a lot of companies I think that could be really hurt by that. One thing I thought was interesting was the fact that tobacco producer Altria actually owns 35% of Juul. You'd think they'd be hurt by this, but they actually have some investments into smaller companies that are looking for things like edible nicotine. So ways to ingest without smoking or vaping. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on. But I don't think I'd want to add that to our basket of companies.
Okay, let's just stick with Tesla, Target, Disney for the next 5 years. You can only own one. What are you going with?
My kids have owned Disney for 17 years. And I'm sticking with it. The House of Mouse is my go-to.
Yeah, sorry, Mickey. I feel bad.
I have to agree. Yeah, out of those three, I think Disney, especially when you look at Disney Plus and how exciting that could be coming up here in November, there's just a lot of opportunity.
20th Century Fox is being integrated. Lots of good stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, and I'm a Disney shareholder too. And I want to clarify, I like Mickey. I just think he's overvalued. It's a valuation thing. It's not a popularity thing, right? I mean, can Mickey get any more popular?
No, he's everywhere.
No, except Target, but soon. Okay. As always, people on the show may have interest in the stocks they talk about, and the Motley Fool may have formal recommendations for or against. So don't buy or sell stocks based solely on what you hear. Ron Gross, Emily Flippen, it is our summer spectacular Dog Days of August special.
Oh, it was spectacular.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Mac.
Thanks.
That's it for this edition of Market Foolery. The show is mixed by Austin Morgan. I'm Matt Greer. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.